Welcome to Why Not Read Alpha Flight with Chris and Tom, a podcast where we take your favorite series seriously. I'm Chris Baker.
And I'm Tom Flynn. We hope you enjoyed our side quest with Jeff, Rick, and Power Pack as much as we did. In this episode, we return to all Alpha action all the time as we wrap up our introduction to Elizabeth Twoyoungmen. And without further ado, Alpha Flight number 19, titled Turn Again, Time in Thy Flight. Cover date February 1985, created, written, and art by John Byrne, colored by Andy Yankus, lettered by Rick Parker, edited by Denny O'Neil, and Jim Shooter as editor-in-chief.
Again, I have thoughts on letterers that I didn't know I had. If I was a Marvel editor at the time, I would have hired Rick Parker for everything I could. He's got nice flair in the editorial box, and the whole book is clear to read. Good job 40 years ago, Rick.
Well, Rick Parker is still alive, and as far as I know, well, so I honestly hope he hears that, especially with my boner about Andy Yankus last episode.
There's also a mispointed word balloon on page 9, and that's all on you, Rick. On the cover, we have a text box saying, Introducing Talisman! And Elizabeth Twoyoungmen is the only important figure on the cover, showing off her late-aughts prom dress as her superhero costume. Okay, I'm not trying to be a fashion critic here, but Talisman's costume has absolutely zero, none, zilch, not a business as a superhero costume, or even as a magic worker's costume. It's a red dress with yellow gold accents, and that's the best description I'm going to give you.
There are a lot of cutout bits, including the outside hips and the inside navel to sternum, as well as bare shoulders but covered arms.
Yeah, look, when my cousin showed her two-piece prom dress to our grandmother in 2004, Graham had, all she could say was, "Dear, it seems you didn't get a very good deal. It's missing some pieces." And that was a terribly damning statement from the nicest person I have ever known. Love you, Graham. For what it's worth, though, Tom, my own daughters have all had one-piece prom dresses.
Elizabeth as Talisman on the cover is rocking a metal-looking headpiece and yellow kitten heels with wing-like accents.
It's something.
I mean, look, I'm going to kind of disagree here. I actually really rather like this. And you brought up magic workers. I don't think that this costume is that different from Scarlet Witch. I mean, or even Snowbird's look. Maybe it shows a bit more skin than the norm, but again, 80s. Also, from a cursory online search, the colorways look not that dissimilar from traditional Sarsi dress, so it may be an attempt to reference that as well. I don't know. I rather like it as something that sets her apart from the others. I will agree, though, that the shoes are a little much. I mean, those aren't terribly, what's the word I want? Practical in a superhero setting.
I think the academic word would be utile.
Sure. The issue opens with Shaman, aka Michael Twoyoungmen, and his daughter Elizabeth back at the Fort Calgary archaeological site that kicked off their adventure last episode with the poorly made scrambled egg monster that distracted them from the great beast Ranaq the Devourer.
Honestly, Tom, last episode, I did not expect you to have such a visceral reaction to how poorly Emily Stang prepared scrambled eggs. But for what it's worth, I wholeheartedly agree the woman is a monster and deserves everything that comes to her.
Our two young men are joined by Heather Hudson, widow of Alpha Flight founder James McDonald Hudson, a.k.a. Guardian, and Eugene Judd, a.k.a. Puck, the hirsute dwarf with incredible acrobatic skills and a very form-fitting unitard. But he's in civilian clothes right now.
For her part, Heather is wearing red slacks, a white blouse, and a loose red necktie like she's a member of the Hong Kong Cavaliers. Tom, do you get that?
Oh, that reference? You mean
Yes.
From Buckaroo Bonzai? The greatest series that never happened? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. My God. There are probably two movies that form like entirely two large portions of my core personality. One has already been discussed, Highlander, and spoiler, there might be some more coming on that front in the near future. The other is absolutely Buckaroo Bonzai. Peter Weller, I mean, Tommy Perfect, Jeff Goldblum. I mean, this man, oh man, is this Stealth turning into a Jeff Goldblum podcast? Because I'm not against
listeners,
that.
I didn't Tom and I didn't talk about this ahead of time. I just asked him about Buckaroo Bonzai and all of this came flowing out.
Yeah, I love Buckaroo Bonzai. Everyone is in this movie. John Lithgow, Christopher Lloyd. It is a movie that could not and would not exist now. And we should be so glad that it's there for us. Such a good movie.
Maybe we're going to have to make a Patreon something or other where Tom can just squee about Highlander and Buckaroo Banzai, and y'all can hear Tom just wax philosophic about it.
Really wish you didn't use the word wax there. But anyways.
As Shaman catches the newcomers up, fellow Alphan Snowbird flies up to join the group because her whole deal is that she is a demigod put in the northern lands to battle the great beasts, of which Ranaq is one. And upon landing and seeing who is there, Snowbird immediately bows down to Elizabeth, saying, "Hail to thee, O Oh God, who's doing Snowbird? What does Snowbird sound like? We haven't really talked about that, have we? She kind of...
Well, I know what it should sound like based off of previous statements you've made.
Melania Trump. Oh God, I can't do that.
Hail to thee, O promised one. They unworthy servants bid thee welcome, and waits thy least command. Is that Melania Trump? No. Do I care? No. Not really.
I really don't care. Do you? Oh, yeah, the politics nerds get that one. All right, moving on.
This is absolutely not what we have seen or heard from Snowbird so far. While not snobby or dismissive, she has certainly never acknowledged another's power over her other than Shaman's as her mortal father stand-in. Even then, it's been more about how he is right when he advises her than that he has any, true power or authority over her. Her bowing down is a big fucking deal. I just want to make a quick note here, kind of inspired by Snowbird's highfalutin language. Falutin. We make...
What does that mean? Can you define that for me, Tom?
Falutin? I mean, I think it's a reference to, it's obviously dropped the G at the end, but I think it's a reference to, a more stilted form of language. I'm trying to figure out what the root words there could be, though.
I really expected you to get angry at me for putting you on the spot about a silly word, but you actually took it seriously.
I'm about to talk about some other words. I put in a little bit of effort to come up with our episode titles, and I've noticed that Byrne definitely has some fun, or whoever is doing the actual titling of the episodes, of the issues of Alpha Flight. And I noticed last issue's title, which was How Long Will a Man Lie in the Earth Ere He Rot?, which is pulled from Hamlet, Act 5, Scene 1, when Hamlet has returned and is addressing the gravedigger. And, there's a skull that's, been unearthed. There's this whole... There's this whole, revenge, all these things. It makes sense that would be the title of that particular issue. But then this issue's title, Turn Again, Time in Thy Flight, is a variation on the opening couplet to what became a very famous poem at the time, Rock Me to Sleep by Elizabeth Akers Allen. It's not precisely the same, but in all my searches, that's the only reference that was coming up. And that poem specifically is reflecting on a deceased mother, a call back to childhood and to a simpler time when the speaker's mother could rock them to sleep, could offer warmth and safety. And I'm curious where Byrne pulled that one from, because apparently there were some, it was set to music. There were some disputes over it. But between this and Robert Service, there's something kind of fun going on here as far as the use of poetry. But with this one in particular, and given Michael and Elizabeth's history with regards to the death of his wife, her mother, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, isn't it?
That's fascinating. I really appreciate what you brought to this conversation, my friend.
Now back to time travel.
As Shaman and Puck wrap their heads around this turn of events, Shaman has Elizabeth reach into his magical medicine bag to see what she pulls out. Listeners, recall that Shaman had to study with the spirit of his grandfather for weeks or months? Did we ever figure that out? In order to learn how to pull anything out of the magic bag, yet Elizabeth reaches in and pulls a metal headband out, and when she puts it on, she is transformed from her plain t-shirt and jeans into the aforementioned prom dress.
What's more, she looks into it first and just sees an empty bag. It doesn't melt her brain like it did Smart Alec. Shaman states that not even he could look directly in without the exact same result, leading to smart Alex, well, eventually his miniaturization. Oh my god, he still has him, doesn't he? That's weird.
Yeah, oh, she probably saw him, like, just floating around in there.
So, there's a lot going on here with Elizabeth.
Yeah, and Shaman says there's a prophecy 300 generations old that's involved, but there's no time to explain because they have to go 100 years into the past right now.
So what we have here is that John Byrne clearly wanted A, Shaman's daughter to B, be on the team, and C, be more powerful than Shaman. So we got that 5 pages into this issue. Don't ask any more questions because there aren't any more answers.
And I checked, and 300 generations generally works out to 6,000 years or so. So while it's a long time, it's not anything like the ludicrous 40,000 years ago that Marina's Plodex ship crashed to Earth.
I really do like the time scales that Byrne plays with.
Yeah, it's nice.
Heather, still new to her role as leader of Alpha Flight and being in the field as a superhero, asks some basic questions about time travel, to which Puck says,
"Sometimes it falls to a leader to stay behind and worry, Heather. As for me, time travel is one of the few things I haven't tried."
Instead of old man Puck having been there, done that, he's as new to this as is everyone else.
And when Puck says, "one of the few things I haven't tried," wow, I bet the category of things Puck has tried is pretty goddamn big. Puck not only knows what a rusty venture is, but he knows how to perform it with style.
Shaman opens a glowing energy portal in front of them, and they jump in, emerging 100 years ago in the same spot. Like Marty McFly going back to the Old West, but without all the momentum.
And Shaman's energy portal here is odd. His traditional teleportation is to sprinkle powder from his medicine bag in a circle around everyone who's going with him, and they disappear from head to toe somewhat slowly. And this is not that, and I wish it was, because I think that'd be cool.
Well, I think this is because he's accessing whatever portal is already there. Like, the issue opens with him trying to figure out if the portal is still active, and do they have to close it off, and they do. And so the threat remains because that portal is active, and okay, I'm really giving this too much thought, aren't I?
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed. This is one of those aspects of Shaman's powers that I'm really interested in seeing live action someday. A completely different magic system than the Doctor Strange stuff. Though I will grant that Scarlet Witch and the Agatha show, the magic, they both show magic use as being less showy and sparkly circly, even in Deadpool and Wolverine. Oh, Marvel circles. I think Shaman would be as different from the Agatha portrayal of magic as the Agatha portrayal is from Doctor Strange, and I would love to see it.
Shaman, trying to get Elizabeth up to speed on her new powers, tells her she should be able to locate where they need to go to find Ranaq. She looks around and realizes she feels a bit of nausea when she points one direction, so they all head that way. Shaman thinks how easily she dismisses what would certainly be a soul-wrenching feeling to any other mortal able to sense it. Properly developed, hers is a power that might one day rival even that of Stephen Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme himself. And Chris just got a very excited / pleased look on his face at that statement.
I want to see these guys hang out, and I did some research, and it looks like they don't. Like very recently, essentially since COVID, I think, there has been a Strange Academy series where Doctor Strange creates a magic school and has all the magic users in Marvel come in to teach, and Shaman comes and teaches there because, he's Shaman. That's what he does. He's good at this stuff. So I'm actually kind of curious to check those out. But as far as like other stuff, no, there's really no, I don't think there's a panel of the two of them talking to each other. You know what I mean? And I would love to see that. So, we follow Elizabeth's upset tummy, and the team comes to a window in a barn. Looking in, they see an incredibly old native man, looks very much like Shaman's grandfather, all shriveled and walnut-looking, long hair, metal headband, floating crisscross applesauce in the air. In front of him are two cowboys. One is identified as Zebediah Chase, and he is holding a young native woman at gunpoint. The other, as you have probably guessed, is a very young Lucas Stang.
Zebediah is such a great name and such a great way to let you know that, oh yeah, we're in the olden times. We're in the West.
we're definitely in the West, but you will definitely meet Zebediahs in the West to this day. You know what I mean? So it's not about time necessarily.
Fair enough. It definitely gives you a location, certainly, in space. Perhaps not time. Luke and Zeb are threatening the Magic Man's granddaughter to force him to summon the great beast Ranaq so they can get everything they ever wanted through magic. The old man warns them there isn't a power in the verse that can control Ranaq, and Zeb shrugs it off because he and Luke have some magic necklaces they bought off of his granddaughter that make them immune to magic.
Now, okay, I didn't think they bought them.
Well, they took them off. Okay, fine. They took them off. Well, what's the actual word they use?
I don't have it in front of me.
I have it. One moment. They hawked them from the little lady.
Hawk them from the little lady. Well, that word doesn't make sense as a verb to me in that sentence. So we'll listeners, you go ahead and decide how they acquire them.
I mean,
they have them.
Hawking, if you were to hawk something from someone, it's a little bit of a combination of like buying them off of a person, but also like there's a little bit of a scam involved, I feel like.
All right, I can't believe we're devoting this much time to it. But to me, hawking something is the act of selling it. So to hawk it to a person, you would be actively selling and giving them your spiel. And on the buying end, I don't see hawk as a term that applies to the buying end, except the HOCK in terms of like a pawn shop. But this is spelled like the bird, right?
It's spelled like the bird, but that could just simply because they screwed up. Like, let's not put it past it. Plus, like, sure, one person's hawking it and the other person is the Tua.
I think that's the perfect place to leave that off, Tom. At the mention of the great beast's name, Snowbird goes cold and tries to push past Shaman to go inside the barn and get straight to killing. Call this move a slow-motion colossus, if you will. Shaman talks her down for the moment, and meanwhile, the ancient magic man relents to Zeb and Luke's demand and gives them what they want. The full attention of Ranaq the Devourer.
Who appears in front of them big as shit. Like 10 feet tall and all face, no body. And the face is like some weird cancer cells crossed with the scrambled egg monster from last issue, which makes sense since that was powered by Ranaq. Big blood red eyes, big pointed yellow teeth in front of the gaping maw. Ranaq looks angry and hungry and impatient and honestly, like, kind of terrifying. Properly otherworldly.
Luke tries to shoot Ranaq with his 1884 six-shooter to no effect. Ranaq tries to magic blast them to dust, and to no effect. Finds out their magic necklaces really do work to protect them from Ranaq's power. So realizing that he can't just kill them, which apparently is his deal, Ranaq agrees to serve them and give them their desires. Zeb immediately demands money, women, power! And Ranaq explains that these things are the stuff... hold on. He's not going to be regional. These things are the stuff of life, human. Why do you call upon the Devourer for this? Ranaq has no power in such matters.
I like that, but can you do it again more like with marbles in your mouth? Because of like all those teeth getting in the way.
Well, see, I don't want to sound like Canadian Nixon.
Oh, no. That's tempting. These things are the stuff of life, human. Why do you call upon the Devourer for this? Ranaq has no power in such matters.
Well, yeah, he has no lips and he has no cheeks. So, yeah, I guess that
also,
probably is kind of what he sounds like.
Also, if you told me that, like, Nixon's nickname was the Devourer, I would believe you. Zeb calls bullshit, and Ranaq says, "You are too wise for me, human. Very well." And we can all tell that he's playing Zeb for a fool, but he's a stereotypical greedy antagonist in a comic book and doesn't see what's coming. Which also, I think, really confirms that Ranaq is just Canadian Nixon. Like, this is totally a tricky dick move. Like, Zeb just got Watergated and doesn't even know it. Ranaq summons a beautiful blonde woman for Zeb, who runs to embrace, only to walk through her immaterial image. The magical talisman that protects him from Ranaq's power also prevents him from partaking of Ranaq's conjured concubine and treasure. So,
Tom, I want to ask you, if you were in Zeb's position, unable to partake of the monster's gifts while protected from his power, what would you do?
I would hope to God I would not do what Zeb's about to do.
God's not here, Tom. There's only a great beast.
I mean,
there's a demigod here.
I guess, look, assuming I'm Zeb, yeah, I'm totally going to do what Zeb's going to do. Assuming I'm me, I'm hoping I'm not in this situation in the first place. But if I am, I'm like, you know what? This was all a terrible idea. Can we send him away now?
Well, Zeb decides to rip the necklace off and get right to boning the magic lady that is standing in front of him. And as soon as he is unprotected, the lady's face turns into a pointy-toothed mouth like Emily Stang's from last issue, and she bites Zeb's face off, infecting him with Ranaq the Destroyer, who walks the earth again.
I really love the allegory for safe sex that's playing out here. As soon as he takes off the protection, like he gets snapped, right?
Remember, kids, bag it up.
Outside the barn, Shaman has been trying to keep Snowbird from barging in and kicking Great Beast's ass, as is her purpose on this earth. But once Ranaq fully enters the human realm in the form of Zeb, she will not be denied and dramatically stands off against Ranaq, who promptly hurls her from the barn as a pitiful half-breed unworthy of his attention despite her heritage.
Shaman runs off to attend to Snowbird and sends Elizabeth in to stand off against Ranaq the Devourer, one of the great beasts of the north, by herself with powers she's had for 20 minutes and understands less than we do, and that's saying something.
As happened last issue, Elizabeth takes everything Ranaq throws at her and channels it back against him without even trying. So this also is kind of the thing with her costume and her powers as we understand them so far. She isn't a fighter grappler, she's not performing rituals, she's not shape-shifting. She's able to use the magic and particularly primal forces around her and redirect them and avoid harm from them. But at the same time, she's not generating them. When she first goes into challenge Ranaq, she can't do anything until Ranaq hits her back. And then it's basically, it's almost like she's creating a balance between the two.
She is a magical don't start none, won't be none.
So with all that said, like her appearing the way she does in, as you've described it, a prom dress, as if she's about to be at some sort of function or gala, there's something about like her powers and her presentation that suggests that she's functioning much more on the god level realm than she is on the superheroic realm. I don't know.
Oh, you know what, Tom? You have made a compelling case and made me rethink Talisman. Thank you. So in the chaos, young Lucas Stang tries to run away only to be sucker kicked by Puck. Hold it, sonny boy. I'm not sure just how you figure in all this, but figure you do, so stay you will.
I do love how initially when you started to say that, you had a little bit of a Western thing going on, and then you reeled it right back in. That was...
Well, we're 1884 Calgary. I bet Puck picks it up pretty quickly.
Hell, for all we know, he was there.
The old magic man stumbles out of the barn and explains that Stang is the only way to stop Ranaq. While no magic force can stop the great beast, a bullet can, because he requires a human host to stay in our world.
So Lucas takes a piece off of his magical necklace and replaces the bullet in one of his cartridges and blasts Zeb right in the goddamn face. And immediately Snowbird collapses with a cry, somehow experiencing Ranaq's pain at being vanquished. So there's clearly more going on with Snowbird's connection to the great beast than Shaman even suspected.
Yeah, that was a surprise here in this issue of a connection to stuff that's going on, and I appreciate there being little, breadcrumbs that are moving us forward. So Shaman tells young Lucas Stang exactly where to bury Zeb, who was apparently Lucas's shitty father figure, so that Elizabeth can find the skull in 100 years. So I guess that skull was Zeb's, and Zeb wants revenge. And
well, no, I think it's Ranaq wanting revenge. It's Ranaq escaping from the skull to enact his revenge against Lucas Stang for killing him, for exiling him from the world. Because we're told that Zeb's dead, right? And there's no reason that Zeb would have enough power or any power to, manifest from beyond the grave. So the elderly magic man, can we assume that we can't, I guess.
He's like shaman.
Well, I was going to say, is he Sarsi? Is he part of...
Calgary is where Shaman lives, and that's where the reservation is, but that doesn't mean that's where the Sarsi were, and I don't know enough about this to talk about it in front of people, Tom.
Yeah, no, I think I'm just, it's worth pointing out earlier, looks a lot like and is dressed somewhat similarly to Shaman's grandfather. There might be a connection there, hard to say. The elderly man tells Stang that he will live 100 years on guard against the return of Ranaq the Devourer, which Elizabeth recognizes as the prophecy that Stang stated in his house about how, his end will come through the spilling of innocent blood and through someone he loves. And she kind of wants to call bullshit. She's like, that, but it won't happen for 100. He doesn't need to be terrified this entire time of what's going to happen.
We know when this happens.
To which she is told by her father that since this is what has happened, it's what has to happen. Man, Shaman, now you got all this time-space paradox stuff going on, and I don't need that. I don't need that right now, man.
So Snowbird wraps up the adventure by saying, "Come, my friends, let us return to the present. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, you're doing Snowbird's voice,
crap.
right?
Come, my friends, let us return to the present. The Talisman has much to learn if she's to fulfill her role.
To which Elizabeth replies, "What did you call me?" Which I like to think that it wasn't a "What did you call me?" No, it's a "What?"
Yeah, the bitch is implied.
And just taking Talisman as an insult. And John Byrne ends the issue by dedicating it to the citizens of Calgary, Alberta, Canada in their centennial year. And that was a nice little touch.
Why Not Read Alpha Flight is brought to you by the Excelsior Embroidery Company, proud to present you the patch of the every other week, Deadpool's butt? What? God, why am I reading this? I feel like
Well, you know
I feel like Daddy Warbucks on the radio show.
You know the famous scene from the X-Men animated series where Rogue is lying on the ground and her butt is prominently featured? Well, I made that into a patch, and then I took the basic shape and I made a patch of Deadpool in the same pose. Look, I don't have a boss here telling me when something is a bad idea, so you, the listeners, can all benefit from my silly ideas unfiltered.
Yeah, I am very aware of this patch because I follow you on social media, and yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm the first one that got a text of that image after you'd done it. And no, listeners, he didn't run this one by me first. He just did it. And he's not wrong. It is pretty funny. The Deadpool look it makes sense for Deadpool to be doing that. Yeah. All right, guys, you know you want to see this. You know you want it. Get a jump on your Christmas shopping with a variety of classic, cheeky, and profane designs. See these and more at excelsiorembroidery.etsy.com.
Why Not Read Alpha Flight is released every other week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at www.thewhynotpod.com, where you can find links to all our socials and maybe leave us a comment on the blog. And now at YouTube, where you can listen to us while staring at our logo. Why Not is recorded in Chicago, Illinois, and deep beneath Stately Baker Manor in a fashionable neighborhood outside St. Louis. It is produced and edited by Tom Flynn, with background cat noises provided by a chonky calico named Teeny, who is quite active today.
Join us next time as we head west to British Columbia with Sasquatch and Aurora and learn the secrets of alchemy with throwaway villain Gilded Lily and silly recurring Marvel villain El Diablo.
See you then. All right, there's a cat all up in my business, so we're going to pause this for a moment because now I'm sitting on an inflatable ball that when she claws at it is going to pop and I'm going to fall because everything sucks.
Everything is awesome.